Vice President Kamala Harris is back in Washington today after completing her first sit-down interview since launching her presidential campaign. Harris told CNN yesterday one of her highest priorities is to, quote, support and strengthen the middle class.
It's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families.
CBS News campaign reporter Nidia Cavazos joins us from our Washington bureau with more. Okay, so those are the general outlines of Harris's policy, but she was also pressed on her policy reversals, including on fracking, which she is now vowing to not ban after saying back in 2019 that she would. Let's just play for our viewers what she said about that yesterday.
Let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate.
So a shift on policy, but not values. Nidia, what did you make of that and other topics the vice president tackled?
Errol, well, with what we saw yesterday during CNN's interview, Harris was questioned on her policy reversals, to which she made the case that her values have never changed throughout her entire political career. But what we also saw was a change in her immigration policy, where she stands now compared to what she was running on in 2019 and 2020. We're now seeing a Vice President Harris who is taking a broader, more balanced approach when it comes to immigration and when it comes to the U.S. southern border. Harris also made it clear that she's running on border security, meaning she intends for there to be consequences for any illegal activity going on at the border. She also made the case that she's the only presidential candidate that has actually prosecuted criminal organizations with her background as a prosecutor. So what we now see is that she is for, more border security, and this is a significant change to what she was running on back in 2019.
Yeah, and it's crucial for voters because everyone's trying to understand the specifics of a Harris administration, how much of her policies will resemble President Biden's. I know she mentioned the Inflation Reduction Act, but how much else will she bring to the table? We know that for her VP nominee, Governor Tim Walz, he was pressed about a controversy over his military records, some believing that he said he previously saw combat. Here was his response when pressed on that topic, when he really hasn't seen combat.
I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct.
What do you make of that, Nidia?
We really did not get a clear and direct answer from Governor Walz when he was questioned on if he had misspoken about several issues, including his military record, his use of IVF treatments when his wife and himself were trying to have children, and also with his drunk driving case. So he was asked explicitly if he had misspoken, but we didn't necessarily get an answer here from Governor Walz. He instead steered the conversation over to, as voters continue to get to know him, they're going to see that he is just like them, he speaks like them, and is very candid about different issues. So when asked directly if he had misspoken, we didn't necessarily get a yes or a no, but instead he said that his record speaks for himself, including his military service.
Yeah, we hope they sit for more questions. Nidia Cavazos, thanks so much.